there is something millions of people over 60 do within the first 30 minutes of waking up every single morning that is slowly, quietly, and measurably shrinking the memory centers of their brain, not over decades, over months. And the reason most doctors haven't warned you about it is not because they don't care. It's because the research connecting these specific morning behaviors to early cognitive decline is newer than most clinical training, and your annual checkup doesn't have time to cover it. Now, I'm going to walk you through the 5 most damaging morning habits for brain health in people over 60. And I need you to stay through number 1, because number 1 is something I'd be willing to bet is part of your morning routine right now. It was part of mine before I understood what it was doing. Some of what I'm about to say is going to feel counterintuitive. Some of it is going to feel unfair. But all of it has a fix. And every fix I give you today costs nothing and starts tomorrow morning. Stay with me. Here's what you need to understand about your brain and the morning hours. Your brain does something extraordinary while you sleep. It runs what scientists call the glymphatic system. Think of it as your brain's overnight cleaning crew. Cerebrospinal fluid flushes through your brain tissue, clearing out metabolic waste, including a protein called amyloid beta, which is the same protein that accumulates in the brains of Alzheimer's patients. By the time you wake up, that cleaning process is winding down. Your brain is essentially handing off to the day shift, and what you do in that first 30 to 60 minutes determines whether the day shift gets a clean, well-supplied workspace or walks into a mess that compounds day after day, month after month. Think of it like this. Your brain is a high-performance office. The night crew cleaned all night, but if the morning crew shows up and immediately floods the office with the wrong chemicals, cuts off the electricity, and skips the supply delivery, work doesn't get done. And over time, the office starts to deteriorate. That deterioration has a clinical name. Doctors call it accelerated cognitive aging, and a landmark study from University College London tracking over 10,000 adults found that specific lifestyle behaviors in the morning hours were independently associated with measurable cognitive decline beginning as early as age 60. What are those behaviors? That's exactly what we're covering today. In this video, I'm walking you through the 5 morning habits that are most damaging to memory and brain health in people over 60, ranked from serious to critical. For each one, I'll give you the science in plain language, a real patient story, and one specific thing you can do differently starting tomorrow morning. Number 2 on this list involves something most people consider healthy, something that's actively marketed as good for you, and the research tells a completely different story for the over 60 brain specifically. And number 1, the habit I mentioned in the opening, I've seen it accelerate cognitive decline faster than almost anything else I cover in my practice. When I explain the mechanism, you'll understand why immediately. Let's get into it. But before we do, where are you watching from today? Drop your city and your age in the comments. I genuinely read them, and this community is one of the most engaged I've ever seen. It means a lot. Habit number 5, checking your phone within 10 minutes of waking up. Let's start with the one that probably doesn't surprise you, but the reason it's dangerous might. Most people assume that scrolling your phone in the morning is a productivity problem, a focus problem, maybe a stress problem, and it is all of those things. But for the brain over 60, it is something more specific and more damaging. Here's the mechanism. When you wake up, your brain is in a state researchers call hypnopompic transition, the window between sleep and full waking consciousness. During this window, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for judgment, decision-making, and working memory, is not yet fully online. Your brain is still running on theta waves, the same slow brainwave state associated with deep meditation and memory consolidation. This is actually a protected window for your brain. It's when memory traces from the night before are being locked in, when creative and associative thinking is most accessible, when your stress hormone cortisol is at its most sensitive. The moment you pick up your phone and expose yourself to notifications, news, social media, and email, you trigger a cortisol spike, collapse the theta state, and flood your underprepared prefrontal cortex with fragmented information. It has no context to process. A study from San Francisco State University found that smartphone use immediately upon waking was associated with significantly higher cortisol reactivity throughout the entire day, not just the morning. And chronically elevated cortisol is one of the most well-documented contributors to hippocampal atrophy, the shrinking of the brain's primary memory structure. For the brain over 60, which already has reduced cortisol buffering capacity, this daily cortisol spike is not trivial. Patient story: Carol, 63, a retired office manager from Tennessee, came to her neurologist concerned about what she called brain fog that never lifts. She was sharp. Her cognitive scores were still in normal range, but she said she felt like she was thinking through cotton wool every morning, and it wasn't fully clearing until afternoon. Her neurologist asked her to describe her morning in detail. Carol's phone was on her nightstand. She checked email and news before she even sat up. Her neurologist asked her to implement one rule: no phone for the first 30 minutes after waking. Within 3 weeks, Carol described the brain fog as almost completely gone by 9 a.m. Her afternoon clarity had moved to morning. Your action step: charge your phone outside the bedroom or at minimum across the room. Buy a cheap alarm clock so your phone is not your first point of contact with the day. Give your brain 30 minutes before you give it to anyone else. That window is neurologically precious. Habit number 4, skipping water first. Thing in the morning, we talked about dehydration and the heart in our last video. Today, I want to show you what it does specifically to your brain and why the morning is the most critical hydration window of the entire day. You have just spent 7 to 9 hours without a single drop of fluid. Your brain, which is approximately 75% water, has been running the glymphatic cleaning system all night, a process that itself consumes and displaces fluid. By the time you wake up, you are in a state of mild to moderate dehydration every single morning, without exception. Now here is what mild dehydration does to brain function, and these numbers are striking. A study published in the Journal of Nutrition found that even 1.4% dehydration, a level most people cannot consciously detect, caused measurable impairment in concentration, working memory, and mood in women. A separate study in men found similar results at 1.6% dehydration, slower reaction time, increased perception of task difficulty, and reduced short-term memory performance. For adults over 60, the problem compounds. The thirst mechanism weakens with age. Your brain becomes less reliable at signaling dehydration, which means by the time you feel thirsty, you're already significantly behind. And most seniors go straight to coffee, which is a mild diuretic, meaning the first thing they do after 7 hours of dehydration is consume something that encourages the body to shed even more fluid. The brain runs on electrochemical signals. Those signals require water as their medium. A dehydrated brain is a slower brain, a foggier brain, and over time, a more vulnerable brain. Patient story: Thomas, 7, a retired engineer from Colorado, had been experiencing what he described as slow mornings, difficulty recalling names and words before noon that would mostly resolve by afternoon. His doctor ordered a full cognitive workup. Everything came back normal for his age. His physician noticed his reported daily fluid intake was extremely low, 2 to 3 cups of coffee and very little else. Thomas was asked to drink 2 full glasses of water immediately upon waking before coffee every morning for 60 days. He reported that his word-finding difficulty in the morning essentially disappeared, and his wife confirmed he seemed noticeably sharper at breakfast. Your action step: put a full glass of water on your nightstand tonight. Make it the first thing that goes into your body tomorrow morning, before coffee, before breakfast, before your phone. 2 glasses is ideal. Your brain will be running on a cleaner, better supplied system within 20 minutes. Habit number 3, eating a high sugar breakfast. This is the one I mentioned in the teaser, the habit that is actively marketed as healthy: orange juice, cereal, toast with jam, low-fat yogurt with fruit. These are the foods most seniors grew up being told were a responsible, heart-healthy breakfast. Here is what they actually do to your brain before 9 a.m. When you consume a high-sugar, high-glycemic breakfast, especially after an overnight fast, your blood glucose spikes sharply and rapidly. Your pancreas fires a large insulin response to bring it back down. In many adults over 60, this produces what's called reactive hypoglycemia, a blood sugar crash that follows the spike, landing you below your baseline glucose level within 90 minutes of eating. For your brain, which has no glucose storage of its own and depends entirely on a steady supply from your blood, this crash is a direct energy disruption. Cognitive performance, attention, memory encoding, processing speed measurably drops during hypoglycemic episodes, but the longer-term damage is more serious. Chronic high glycemic breakfast habits are strongly associated with insulin resistance in the brain, a condition researchers are increasingly calling type 3 diabetes because insulin resistance in brain tissue directly impairs the brain's ability to use glucose for energy. And insulin resistance in the brain is now considered one of the primary metabolic drivers of Alzheimer's disease. A study from Neurology, the Journal of the American Academy of Neurology, found that adults with higher fasting glucose levels, even within the so-called normal range, had measurably smaller hippocampal and total brain volumes. Smaller brain, higher sugar. The correlation was dose-dependent. Patient story: Diane, 66, a retired teacher from Florida, had been eating the same breakfast for 30 years, orange juice, cornflakes with skim milk, and a piece of toast. She was proud of it. When she mentioned increasing forgetfulness to her physician, a continuous glucose monitor was briefly used to track her response patterns. Her breakfast was spiking her blood sugar to near diabetic levels and crashing it within the hour. Her doctor switched her to eggs, avocado, and berries. Within 6 weeks, Diane said her morning mental clarity was like someone turned the lights back on. Your action step: tomorrow morning, swap your breakfast for something that leads with protein and healthy fat. Eggs, Greek yogurt, nuts, avocado. If you want fruit, eat it with protein, not alone. Ditch the orange juice, eat the orange instead. This single change is one of the most impactful things you can do for your brain before 10 a.m. Quick pause: if this is the kind of content that's useful to you, please hit subscribe. I post every week specifically for people over 60 who want real science, not generic advice. And if someone in your life needs to hear this, a spouse, a sibling, a friend, share this video with them. It takes 5 seconds and it could genuinely matter. Okay, we're getting to the top 2. These are the ones that matter most. Habit number 2, sitting immediately after waking and staying there. This one is going to reframe something you thought you understood. We know sitting too much is bad for the body, but the specific window of morning sedentary behavior, the pattern of waking up and going directly from bed to a chair or couch without any meaningful movement, has been identified as independently damaging to brain health in older adults, separate from total daily activity. Here's why the morning window is different. While you sleep, cerebral blood flow decreases. Your brain receives less oxygen-rich blood than it does during waking hours. The lymphatic cleaning system is working, but circulation is reduced. Morning movement, even light movement, is the trigger that restores full cerebral perfusion. It reopens the blood-brain barrier exchange, delivers oxygen and glucose to neurons, and activates the release of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which researchers literally call fertilizer for the brain. BDNF stimulates the growth of new neurons and strengthens existing neural connections. When you go from bed directly to sitting and stay there for an hour or two scrolling, watching TV or eating breakfast without moving, you delay this entire cascade. Your brain stays in a low perfusion, low BDNF state deep into the morning. A study from Columbia University found that breaking up sedentary time with even 5-minute walking intervals significantly improved memory and cognitive performance compared to unbroken sitting. And research from the British Journal of Sports Medicine found that morning physical activity, specifically even light intensity, was associated with better episodic memory and attention throughout the entire day. Patient story. Gerald, 72, a retired accountant from Illinois, had a routine: wake up, sit on the couch with coffee, and the news for about 90 minutes, then start his day. He had been noticing increasing difficulty concentrating during his morning crossword, something he'd done easily for years. His doctor suggested a single change: a 10-minute walk outside immediately after waking, before coffee, before sitting down. Gerald resisted for 2 weeks. Then he tried. He told his doctor 3 months later that the crossword felt easy again and that he felt mentally awake in a way he hadn't in years. His doctor told him the walk was doing more for his brain than any supplement on the market. Your action step: before you sit down tomorrow morning, before coffee, before your phone, before breakfast, take a 10-minute walk outside. Not a workout, a walk. Around the block, down the driveway and back. It doesn't need to be intense. It needs to happen. That 10 minutes triggers a neurological cascade that will improve your thinking for hours. Habit number 1, waking up to an alarm and hitting snooze. Repeatedly, I know. You were not expecting that to be number 1. But I need you to understand what snoozing does to your brain at the neurological level, because once you know, you won't be able to unknow it. Here's what happens. Your body does not wake up randomly. Your brain runs a precise, timed biological program to prepare you for waking. In the 60 to 90 minutes before your natural wake time, your body begins elevating cortisol, raising core body temperature, and lightening your sleep stages, transitioning you from deep sleep toward light sleep, toward waking. This is called sleep inertia clearance. And by the time you reach your natural wake time, your brain is designed to be ready. Now, when an alarm fires, before that process completes, and most alarm times are set arbitrarily, not in sync with your sleep cycle, your brain is jolted out of whatever stage it was in. That disoriented, groggy feeling you wake up with, that's sleep inertia, your brain caught mid-cycle. Here is where snoozing turns damaging. When you hit snooze and fall back asleep, your brain does not re-enter restful sleep. It cannot complete a meaningful sleep cycle in 7 to 10 minutes. What it does instead is attempt to re-enter sleep, a process called sleep re-initiation, which actually pulls it back toward deeper, slower sleep stages. Then the alarm fires again, and your brain is jolted out a second time from an even deeper stage than before. You are not getting extra rest. You are repeatedly concussing your brain's wake cycle. Each snooze hit deepens sleep inertia rather than clearing it. And research from Harvard Medical School's Division of Sleep Medicine shows that fragmented morning awakening caused by repeated alarms significantly impairs memory consolidation, executive function, and processing speed. And these impairments can persist for up to 4 hours after waking. 4 hours gone every morning. And here's the part that becomes a long-term brain health concern. Chronic sleep inertia, repeated daily disruption of the natural wake cycle, is associated with measurably higher levels of morning cortisol dysregulation. And as we discussed with habit number 5, chronically elevated and dysregulated cortisol is directly toxic to the hippocampus, your brain's memory headquarters. A study published in Psychoneuroendocrinology found that adults with chronic morning cortisol dysregulation showed significantly accelerated hippocampal volume loss over a 5-year follow-up compared to those with normal morning cortisol patterns. You are not just groggy, you are over time shrinking your memory center. Patient story: Patricia, 64, a retired marketing director from New York, set 4 alarms every morning: 6 o'clock, 6:09, 6:18, and 6:27, and considered it a normal, harmless routine. She had been complaining to her doctor of worsening short-term memory for 2 years. She couldn't remember conversations from earlier in the day. She was forgetting appointments. She was terrified she was developing dementia. Her cognitive testing showed no clinical impairment, but her neurologist noticed an unusual pattern. Her memory scores were consistently worse in morning sessions than afternoon sessions. The doctor asked her to describe her morning in precise detail. When she described the 4-alarm routine, he asked her to try one immediate change. Set one alarm, set it 30 minutes later, then she needed to be up and get up on the first sound. No snooze. No exceptions. 2 months later, Patricia told him her afternoon brain had moved to morning. Her follow-up memory scores were notably improved. Same woman, same brain, different morning. Your action step, 3 parts. 1, tonight set 1 alarm, not 4. 1, place it across the room so you have to stand up to turn it off. 2, set it 20 to 30 minutes later than you currently do, because if you need 4 alarms across an hour, you probably need more sleep, not more alarms. 3, when it goes off, stand up. Don't negotiate with yourself. The negotiation happens in your half asleep brain, which is the worst decision maker you have. Stand up, walk to the window, get light in your eye. That light signal is a direct trigger to your brain's wake system. It suppresses residual melatonin and fully initiates cortisol's healthy morning arc. This is free. It starts tomorrow. And it may be the single most impactful change you make for your brain this year. You now know what most people don't, that the morning is not neutral time. It is the most neurologically sensitive window of your day. And for the brain over 60, what happens in that first hour is not trivial. It compounds every single day. You have a choice right now. You can go back to tomorrow morning the same way you went through this morning, or you can pick even one thing from this list, just one, and change it tomorrow. Put water on your nightstand tonight, set 1 alarm and put it across the room. Plan a 10-minute walk before you sit down. These are not big commitments. They are small adjustments with real neurological consequences. Save this video, bookmark it, come back to it. Send it to someone you love who is over 60, because the people most affected by this information are often the least likely to find it on their own. You watched this video, that already puts you ahead. Use it. Now, before you go, next week I'm covering something that came up repeatedly in the comments on our last video, and I want to address it properly, because a lot of you are taking medications that your doctor prescribed in good faith, medications for blood pressure, for cholesterol, for anxiety, for sleep, that have a side effect most people are never told about. A side effect that looks exactly like early dementia. It mimics memory loss, it mimics confusion, and in some cases, when the medication is adjusted or changed, the dementia symptoms reverse entirely. That video goes live next week. Subscribe and turn on the bell so you're notified the moment it drops, because that one is going to matter to a lot of people watching this channel. I'm Dr. Grace Chen. Protect your brain. I'll see you next week.